Hello friends, welcome to the next episode of Late Friday Night's Banter Blitz. I'm very sorry for the late start this time. So let's get straightforwardly to playing. As usual, I will try to find somebody I've never ever played before. So let me see if I have the one among challengers. By the way, there are not so many challenges, so it will be not that complicated task. So I can see at least the one right now. So I will accept the challenge. And let's see. Playing with white pieces. E4. Here we go. And waiting for a response. As usual, just let me know. Okay, I just wanted to ask that, but I can see that Cobra already answered the question even without me asking it. So he says, stream and voice good. All right. Goblin says the same. I'm happy that everything is fine from a technical point of view. So my opponent is not going to play probably. Ask the question from Twyho's ex Andrey: does soccer world championship influences any of your streams and activities? Not really, I think. So everything will be more or less according to the normal schedule. And the first game was started. We have exchanged variation over Lopez, f6, main line. And bishop g4. Alright, this is one of the possibilities here. Now pawn e5 is weak, but there is a problem with development, a slight one. So usually I respond with the rook d3. But I'm not entirely sure that is the best way to do this. On the other hand, black is going to take on f3 at some point, damaging my pawn structure. Okay, let's keep on playing rook d3. Bishop d6 and bishop to g5. Again, I'm not entirely sure that it's the best move here, but at very least I prevent castling for some time and control f6 square, and also develop the bishop prior to playing knight to d2. So basically I'm trying to come up with more harmonious development so that my knight will not actually limit my own bishop on c1. That's the point. And to achieve this goal, of course, I have only two squares, e3 and g5. On e3, my bishop breaks the connection between the rook and the knight. So that's why I decided to put it on g5. Okay, e4 is under pressure, so let's put the knight on d2. This looks logical at least. And the next plan is probably something connected with exerting pressure on e5 at some point. So it would be nice to have a chance to protect the e4 and to play knight c4. Also an interesting idea to try to clarify the situation with the bishop g4. b5 stops me from playing knight to c4. Alright. Should I play a4 or c4? I'm not sure. c4 looks interesting with the idea of playing c5, but then bc4, knight c4, knight takes e4 is unclear to me. So maybe I will start with this move, bishop h4. I mean, in any case, black is going to play h6 at some point. So bishop h4 has two ideas behind it. Bishop to g3 attacking e5, and another one to try c4 maybe. At some point, and after bc4, knight c4, knight e4 comes without attack against my bishop on g5. So that I have the time to do something there. But it's not so clear if I can play, for example, c4 right now. I'm not sure if it is a good idea. Another option for me is to try h3, I guess. So if the bishop takes on f3, all right, I can take with the knight, because knight f6 is pinned. I think it's the most pleasant thing for white that could happen. If bishop goes away, then the question where the bishop goes. So if bishop goes to h5, I also have some ideas, tricks connected with knight to g5, attacking e6 square. Well, probably bishop h5 was slightly better because it left me under slight pressure along this h5 d1 diagonal. Now there is no pressure, but I'm not sure if it gives me any advantage. So of course I can play bishop g3 now, attacking e5, which probably forces black to do something like knight to d7. And then something like knight g5 attacking the bishop forces the bishop to g8. But I'm not sure I can use it anyhow. Yeah, interesting position. It doesn't feel like I have anything in this situation, but, well, I'll try at least to exert some pressure, you know. It's important to do something with the knight on d2, because in my opinion it is the worst piece in my camp for now. So other pieces at least are doing something. Alright, rook e8. This is a bit strange to me. So what if I just take on e5? Alright, bishop e5, bishop e5, bishop c4. Knight c4, bc4, and my bishop is hanging there. Okay, so I will start with the b3 then, preventing that. And now e5 is more or less hanging, I guess. And c4 becomes a logical follow-up of the b3 move. Yeah, complicated stuff. But I have a feeling that black could have played much better than this. But even this looks, well, quite okay. Alright, so now I need the knight on d5, basically. But which one? Probably I have a chance to bring this one. This is more realistic, because this knight should protect e4. Yeah, knight on d2 is still passive, but my knight, which is getting to e3, now has some squares, like d5 and f5. The other problem is that I have only 44 seconds, so my opponent is very strong, so he played in a very good way, I mean. Okay, this is very questionable decision, so now after this exchanges, I think I have a real advantage. So my knight can get to c4. Very strong position. This bishop on d6 is not necessarily that great. So under slight time pressure, black probably just misplayed it. Okay, what about g5? Alright. Okay. This is very good position. Now it's time to regroup the pieces a bit. Now h4 is hanging. Well, at least after this move, it's hanging for sure. Yeah, it should be winning for white, but the question is if I have the time to convert it. I should be able to do that. Even in 15 seconds, because position is absolutely lost for black now. Okay, nice finish. So the start was very slow and not very convincing, but once I brought the knight to e3, I think my position became more or less fine. So now at least I have some plan. So probably what black did wrong is giving me a chance to blockade things like that. I believe that after bishop g3, the best move was, well, again, rook e8 was probably okay because I cannot take the pawn. It feels like that. So bishop c4 now, attacking the rook. And everything I can do here is probably just to take on f6 and after bishop d3 to take on g7. That was probably a very interesting try for white, but I somehow didn't feel like it would be a sufficient compensation, but probably it was. In fact, I have a lot of pawns here. They are connected more or less. So my only issue here is pawn d3 that I have to protect. But as for the rest of the pawns, they are quite good and potentially very dangerous. So I'm an exchange down and so forth, but I think compensation is quite interesting here. But I played b3, and here I guess just knight to d7, intending to put the knight on c5 at the right moment, or at least controlling c5 could have been just a good option. I'm not sure that white has anything serious, and what I would also do, I would definitely avoid playing something like c5, because it seriously limits the bishop d6, where after... well, white has very simple plan of bringing the knight to e3, intended knight to d5 or knight to f5. Well, probably it's still not a lost position. Most likely it is not. But it's definitely no longer that pleasant. That's what I mean. All right. For example, after all these moves... So here, again, probably b takes a4 deserved more attention because it opens the b file at least. And then after some regrouping, it's probably possible to bring the rook there. But it's double-edged because I think I'm much faster in a possibility to occupy this file. So I will have no problems with playing something like rook b1, rook b3. The other question if I threaten anything with this doubling, but still. I mean, this file is open for both sides. So, okay. Again, not so sure. Maybe king b7 was interesting, just giving me a chance to take on b5, but then bringing the king to b6 and taking on b5. So, with the activation of the king at least. But alright, b4. So, this situation is usually very good for the knight, but because knights are quite good at maneuvering, especially if there are some strong points like f5 and d5. So g5 is the next move I would probably never play it here as black, because it adds to this maneuver, knight c2 and knight e3. So now, in addition to d5 square, I have f5 possibility. So even taking on g3 damage in my pawn structure probably doesn't really help black, because after f takes g3, I have f file, and I still can push my pawns here, and my knights are becoming very great power, while black's bishops are quite bad here. So bishop e6 here, and well, this position is probably already very difficult for black to play. However, I would have captured with this pawn for sure. because in this case at least the bishop has e5 square, the rook has this open file to exert some pressure, and there is a simple plan like playing h5, g4 at some point. So that was much more promising than taking g takes f4, where after, well, the game is pretty much one-sided. So g5, h4, knight f3, rook g8, king f1. By the way, here if black starts with bishop e7, attacking the pawn, I don't think it's a good idea in general. So I can take on e5 and get back to f3 with a much better pawn structure. I can also take on e5 and then take on c5 if bishop takes on g5. I can simply go king e2 here, and if bishop takes g5 in this position, I just take on c5. This pawn is weak, this pawn is weak, c7 is weak, so we can see that it's not possible to penetrate the back rank in my camp. g1 is under control of the knight f3, so this is just a very bad position. Okay, thank you very much for this game, and let us continue. Let's see if we have somebody else I've never ever played before. There should be somebody, I believe. Corneletto from Italy. Okay, I'll accept the challenge. No games so far. Plan is black. And something closed. Let's see. c4, e6, and g3. This may well lead to Catalan if white plays d4, or some other typical positions. So e3, alright, this is a typical plan. Alright, dc4, bc4, c5, now queen e2, alright, then knight e1 at some point, exchanging bishops and starting the attack. On the king side, just pushing pawns. So let's see if I can survive it this time, because it is very unpleasant. According to my experience, one of the most unpleasant hobbies for playing as black. So I mean, it's okay for black, but you have to come up with very precise play. Not so easy stuff. So these are all typical maneuvers. Now rook to d8, preparing knight to e8. And then bishop to f6 at some point. Okay, and here I think I have a good choice between playing immediate... No, immediate b5 doesn't work. Or it may work, so b5, cb5, just bishop takes g2 is possible. But I think it's too complicated. Let's take on g2 first and play b5 here. That was basically the idea behind rook b8 move. And white is a bit behind the schedule, so g4, f4, g5 is still playable, but I mean, it's more logical to come up with this plan when you have the rook on f1, for example. So I don't think that rook d1 was in general that necessary. Moreover, now with the rook on d1, I have a threat of playing b4, and it's unclear where the knight goes. So when the rook is on f1, the knight simply retreats to d1. Now, I guess after b4, there is no good square, simply. Yeah, so white's play is definitely something that white plays in such a position from time to time. I mean, number of moves like d3, knight a1, exchanging bishops and playing g4, that is definitely something that white should do here, but not probably in this order. Definitely without the rook on d1, and maybe it was better to play a4 at some point, just stopping me from b5, because now I definitely have a simple play. So for example, I start with knight e4, damaging the pawn structure. Now I have very good pawn structure, and white has less resources for that attack, which is very nice. So now how to play this position? It's probably interesting to try bishop f6, just exchanging the main attack in piece, where after I don't believe in white's attack. Right, so let's do it. Bishop f6. My bishop is very bad, and if there is a good chance to exchange it, I think I should do it. Yeah, black has very good version of this tabia. Let's take this one. And now what? Just knight b6 or knight e5? Knight e5 just f4. There is also an idea of playing knight f6 attacking e4 here. How to protect the pawn. On the other hand, if white plays something like f3, it's not clear what my knight is doing there. So maybe it's more logical just to play this simple knight b6. And to put it on c3 at some point. Or maybe just to play straightforwardly like a5, a4, a3, creating this threat of a breakthrough at some point. This is also a good idea, I believe. But with the knight on c3, it will be probably even more powerful. So let's go there. Okay, now I control the d file, which is very nice. h4 is under slight pressure, but I don't think I'm going to take it anyway, even if it is hanging. But after 91, well, maybe, you know, it's not that bad idea in general. Feels like knight c3 is a good inclusion prior to doing anything. Just attacking the queen, attacking a2, attacking e2 square. So if queen goes to d3, I will probably take on h4 simply. Attacking g4 in that case. Yeah, why not? Extra material. Queen d3 was most likely also possible, but I'm sorry. Why not to win the pawn? Alright, right. Now, what is the correct move? I think g5, stopping the knight from getting to f4. a3. a5. Very natural reaction. So now I have a passer. I think it's a very pleasant position. Just take here. Attacking e5. So now I can take on e5, right? I don't think there is anything after queen d8, king g7. So let's take on e5. Simple centralization. And now it's lost. Now it's lost for white. Interesting question from Chronic Student. Lagged chat or lazy chat? I think a bit of both, but I'm not sure. All right, so looked like very easy win for black, but it's not because of white's opening choice. It was absolutely classic one. So Kramnik, one of the greatest experts here as white. But the thing is, after a6, I'm not sure. At some point, a4 deserves serious attention. If you want to exchange the bishops, probably it's a good idea to start right now. So like knight e1, and say after queen c7, something like f4. So you start immediately, and then g4, g5 are the same, but you start pushing pawns as soon as possible. That's, I think, the point. So let's say knight to d7, g4. Here I used to play rook to b8 in some Blitz games, so doing the same, like preparing b5 at some point and being able to retreat with the knight like this, because after g4 there was a threat of playing g5. Yeah, and well, there are different ways of playing it, starting with the a4 or maybe knight to c3. Sometimes I saw people playing even f5 here immediately, or just h4 and then f5. Or just taking on b7, playing knight g2 is also absolutely good. You can also consider playing d3 and knight to d2. That is the other way of developing that knight. So the position is very complicated and interesting to play with both sides. So the way you played it was slightly not ambitious, I would say. So I managed to make a lot of useful moves prior. You started your typical play with the g4. So I think that's why I got so easy position. So I just played b5. Now there is a threat of b4. And it's no longer clear how to react to this. So g4, b4, so this pawn structure is just very good for black because your pawns are doubled. You no longer have sufficient resources to attack me here on the king side. I exchange my worst piece, my bishop, which is limited with own pawns, and then my plan is simple. So I just play on the queen side, try to create a passer there. You have a bunch of weaknesses, and black has no weaknesses at all. That was the main reason, I think, of your loss. Let's go further. So, next game, one more guy I've never ever played before. So let's see if we have somebody. Yeah, for example, the guy Vysis from Poland, never ever played before, according to the history of our encounters. So let's do it. Black pieces again. Cardinaledo says, thanks for the game. You're welcome. Let's go. Black pieces again. White to move. So, are you going to make your move, my friend? You are online. So, everything's ready. I mean, make your move. Come on. Okay, I'm going to wait for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are very long seconds, as you will notice. 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry. Let's go. Further. So, here we go. Here we go. Hornclay from Germany. Accept. White pieces instead. Alright. It's slightly more pleasant. We can attack or something. H4, H5, Knight H3, just head into G5. After Bishop H3 and Rook H3, I already have pair of bishops, which is good. C6. Okay. Now I have different ideas how to play this position. Usually I just develop the bishop, play Queen D2, castle. What if I will try Bishop C4 this time? It doesn't make sense to put the bishop like that. I'm not sure, but since light square bishop is gone, maybe we can just exert direct pressure on light squares immediately. Alright, E6 is a smart reaction. But what if Bishop G5 now? Sorry, I have some allergic reactions. I don't know the exact reason, but Bishop G5 was probably too much. Because Queen B6 was absolutely unclear to me, like attacking B2 and D4. That was probably the best move. Okay, now I'll just play Queen D2 and castle as soon as possible. It's time to clarify the things this way. Okay, let's go to E2. Preparing G4 at some point. I'm definitely not afraid of D takes C4 because, first of all, just knight takes C4, and if D4 drops, then there is some problems with dark squares anyway. Moreover, after D4, I can start with castling lawn, protecting D4, and then E4 will be hanging. So, and this is exactly what I want to get. So the open position, much more open than now. So there was a question, should the challenge be rated or unrated on chat several minutes ago. So it could be any of this. So rated, unrated, doesn't really matter. Okay, knight d7, let's castle. So castling first. And then something active. If there is a chance, of course. Interesting idea. If black plays b5, I can probably try something like e d5. And if e d5, bishop b5, c b5, knight d5 looks very promising. So sacrificing the minor piece for 2 pawns, but exerting enormous pressure on e7. And there should be compensation, I believe. There should be compensation. Okay, f6 weakens position a lot, so let's put the bishop here, just waiting for maybe something like e5, because black is probably in the mood to push his pawns. Now, black decided not to play e5, maybe a good idea because it's too much. But now, since my pawn on d4 is no longer under pressure, maybe it makes sense to regroup the pieces a bit, like bishop d3, exerting potential pressure on g6. Dunno. Let's try that. Bishop d3, queen a5. Okay, just go away. On b1, typical prophylaxis to forget about the queen side. Forget about a2, which is hanging in different lines, and completely focus on the king side to attack g6, to attack the king hands, and so on. Alright, I think it's better to open up a position slightly. And now there is a problem with d4. Should I solve this problem? Yeah, I guess it makes sense to protect it. Knight there. Where's my attack against g6? I don't quite see it. So probably I need g4. That's what I need badly in this position. So let's regroup again and play g4 at some point. Yes, I think it's time. Now, position remains unclear, but at least I'm getting to g6. All right. We don't have a lot of time on the clock, so the quality of playing is probably reduced, but okay. At least we're both trying hard. Like, okay. Wow, b2 was heading. That's what I missed. And the knight could have gone. Okay, yeah, this is very bad at the end. I mean, super stupid play. Yeah, I'm just losing now. Well. All right, that was just amazingly bad game. I mean, I outplayed my opponent completely at some point. I think after g4, white is already much better. But I somehow started playing very bad moves. Very bad moves. So first of all, knight g4 was probably much more testing continuation than taking with the pawn. In which case, probably I have some compensation, not more than that. Probably I was just overestimating my position, but okay, h takes g4, rook here, bishop takes here. Maybe I missed something really simple somewhere here, because this position is already quite good, right, for white. So bishop f5, most likely. Just attacking the rook, taking on g4, opening the g file, and so on. Yeah, there's still a lot of fight here, of course, but yeah, it was much better than just staying and waiting. But anyway, this position is absolutely lost for black now. I can just take on b4, let's say, with a pawn, then play c3. There is no counterplay whatsoever. And I just take g4 at some point and win the game. But okay, I took with the knight. It shouldn't be that terribly awful. So I took here, queen c5, then played rook f1. But Yeah, probably rook f1 was too soft. So there was something better, I believe. You know, taking on h7, taking on f6, taking on d5, then it's probably not good. Wow. That position looks like ready to win it. But there is a play for black anyway. That's why probably it was much smarter to take on b4 with the pawn. Maybe not taking it at all for now because, well, it is still pinned. All right. Yeah, if b takes a3, queen takes a5. Yeah, so maybe I should have started with rook to f1. Or maybe, you know, just simplifying it a bit first, like taking on h7, then taking on b4, taking on f6 somewhere. Yeah, let's say bishop h7, the easiest move ever. Like if knight takes h7, I can take on g4. Something like this doesn't work because I control e1 square at very least, and my king can go to c1, can go there as well. So rook e1 isn't possible, and I win the game. So I just win a very important pawn, and b4 drops also automatically. If king goes to h7, I just take on f6, let's say. Looks like a good way just to reduce the pressure. Bishop takes f6, now say a b4 first, and then rook g4 next move. Yeah, absolutely lost position for black. All right, I started playing complete bullshit and was punished for this. All right. As for black's play, well, it's okay to play like that, to take on h3 and then put pawns on light squares. But maybe I would have played queen b6 against bishop g5. So after bishop g5, which was like move without much thinking about it, queen b6, attacking b2 and d4. That was interesting. I mean, I'm not sure that it was completely correct for white to play bishop g5 in this position. But it will maybe something like e5 here. So if queen takes b2, like knight e4 is an interesting move, just attacking d6 square. And if queen b4, it doesn't really help because of c3, it takes here, it takes on d6. But something like, you know, d5 should lead to a position you really wanted to achieve, which is probably okay for black. I mean, I'm most likely forced to go to b3, which is not the best position for the bishop. But then at some point I can maneuver it to c2, so like knight e2, c3, bishop c2. So it's a French defense without French bishop. Should be slightly better for white long term. All right. Let us continue. Let us continue. Graf von Pannen is the next, because we've already played 3 games against the guys I've never played before. Now it's time to get back to normal order of challenges. Graf von Pannen. d4, knight f6. Knight f3, e6. c4, b6. All right. It's always like that, right? We play this every time with Graf von Pannen. Okay. Let's go this way. And bishop g5, okay. One of the main lines. I have no idea what to do here because I usually play absolutely different stuff. Let's just develop the pieces the normal way. Looks like just Queen's Gambit with the inclusion of the a3 move, right? Queen's Gambit declined, I mean. I used to play Queen's Gambit declined when I was a kid, many years ago. And one of the plans was just to play c5, get in the position with hanging pawns. Knight e4 is also one of the possibilities here, I believe. Absolutely playable. Let's try knight e4. Oh wow, there is a problem with the stream, right? I've noticed it. But as far as I understand, right now it's back, right? Okay, sorry guys. So after this exchanges, I have some problems with the pawn structure, so let's try to solve it. c5 undermining d4. In general, if I get rid of the d4 pawn, I will have squares like e5 or maybe c5 for my knight, and after that my knight can get to d3 or something. Goblin says it's okay now. Chronic student says the same. Okay, thank you for this information. Now, what to do now? To play rook a to d8, just centralizing everything and exerting this pressure on d4 pawn gradually. Yeah, I think it should be playable for black. If d5, then knight takes c5 and just right to d3. Well, I think black is doing well here. I mean, I have some active plans in the king side, including f7, f5, f4. So that is probably something that I should play. Trying to make diagonal for my b7 bishop longer and potentially even open it completely. Starting the attack there. Okay, now what if I take on d4? If e4, then f4, kind of proceeding with the plan. If knight takes d4, then I get this desired e5 or c5 square. Is it something for me or not? Not quite sure in this. Not quite sure. f4 immediately also looks playable. Even e6, e5, but it is the least option I would consider because of d5 closing diagonal forever and making my bishop very bad. Okay, let's try cd4. Giovanni says I had no problems with the stream. Yeah, it's interesting because when there are some frames dropping, not each and every viewer actually experiences the same. Coming students, for Training Tuesday, will we also see Rai Lopez? Yes, one day. I think. If you want me to analyze Rai Lopez the same way I'm doing it right now with the Nimtza Indian defense one day, okay, just let me know. When this mini-series finishes, probably we will get to Rai Lopez. Why not? And that's really a good question to me, what to do with this f3. Just to ignore it, to play knight f6, or to play e3. I think e3 should be played anyway. Yeah, so diagonal is no longer that great for my bishop, but this pawn on e3 is tremendous. It's very strong. Okay, d5. What if I play knight c5 now? Knight takes c5, bc5, let's say. This looks like the way to deal with the center, because d5 is under pressure now. And after say knight takes c5, bc5, while c4 is blockaded, which means bishop e2 will be quite passive for a long time. And in general, I'm not against the exchange like knight c5, bc5, d6, queen e6. Looks like a serious improvement of black's position. And the pawn structure is okay for black, finally. So my doubled pawn was exchanged. I have this great one on e3. What's the plan? To do something with the d4 square looks interesting. So something like a5, a4 comes to mind. Do I have the time to perform something like that? Not quite sure, but let's try. I think white is seriously limited for now. So this may well work, like a4, knight goes away. Oh, knight goes away voluntarily. This is nice. What if knight d4 now? Where to go? Oh, rook d4. Okay. This is perfect. This is perfect. Extra exchange. Extra exchange with such a pawn on e3 should guarantee big winning chances. After knight d4 it was indeed not very pleasant, but still I don't think that taking on d4 was the only move, but we will see. Soon after the game finishes, we'll see if there was a chance to improve the situation. Okay, queen e5, I don't see a possibility for white to come up with perpetual. I don't see perpetual because I control h7 b1 diagonal, so there is no perpetual whatsoever. So let's do like very simple stuff. And now one of my pawns promotes. All right. So we were maneuvering for a long time, and then at some point, well, position changed dramatically when I played f4, e3, then probably d5 was premature. I'm not sure it was well prepared. So what I would have played is something like... Well, to start with, I would have captured on d4 with the piece, right? To avoid all these complications, because I don't think that something like knight e5 or knight c5 is really dangerous. Okay, so there is d3 square, but it feels like white controls everything for now, at least. And there is a very simple plan of improvement, like pawn to b4. Whenever my knight no longer controls c5, there is c5, followed by c6. In general, this centralized knight is very nice. And you can also double your rooks along the d file. So, it looks like a pleasant position for white. So taking on d4 with a minor piece, or maybe even with the rook, was a good consideration, with a good idea. I would have captured with the knight, I guess. So it's to start with, because after this e3, I think black is doing fine. I mean, white is already fighting for equality, not black. And this d5, okay, knight c5. There was an interesting possibility to take it. After bc5 to try something like queen e4, attacking e6, pinning it. So I cannot take on d5, but d5 is pinned now as well. So I can play something like rook d6, probably protecting it, but now you have something connected with the b4. And I was not sure about this position. I was not sure how to evaluate it correctly. Maybe it's fine for black still, so I play something like queen c7. You cannot really take on e6 because your queen is hanging bc5 and queen c5, so you cannot actually exert additional pressure on my c5 so that I can save this blockade. But you have this move. Wow, this is another idea. Yeah, probably this position is really complicated for black, because I've just noticed this additional idea, bishop d3. Wow, there may be just an attack. So how to make this attack not very dangerous is probably just to put the rook on f6, controlling g6, so that even if there is queen h7 check, I just play king f7 and there is no checkmate whatsoever. Yeah, so probably this line is okay. So rook d6, say b4, queen c7, bishop d3, and now I can put the rook on f6, right? So like queen h7, king f7, and yeah, probably I'm not checkmated. Probably not checkmated. Yeah, so unclear position. Don't know, but that was definitely much more interesting than the game. Because after d6, knight e6, my pawn structure is now good. The knight on b3 remains passive, and the rest was really simple. But here, after knight d4, an interesting question. If there was a chance to just go away with the queen somewhere, finding the better square, probably just queen to b1 was playable. I mean, you protect the rook, and if I take on e2, you just take with the knight. Yeah, it's a nasty position for sure, but it's definitely much better to play something like this if compared to this position. Because after this, black is definitely winning. Like, you saw that, so it's not a problem to find a plan. Because pawns are very weak. The question from Shelley Ford, very interesting one. Will there also be a Training Tuesday episode on how to beat weak players who play for a draw with white from move 1 onwards? Would sure tune in. Interesting question. If it was not a joke, then probably at some point I will consider doing something like that. But for now, if you need some interesting information, I came across to a very interesting book recently. This is a book written by Katronius in 2011. It is called Grandmaster Battle Manual, and there is a big chapter dedicated to playing lower rated opponents. By the way, I've stopped my reading of this book exactly entering this chapter. So I'm going to resume very, very soon. So in general, the book is just fantastic. And I think there will be a lot of interesting insights on this point. All right. So let's continue. Let's continue. It was published in Quality Chess, by the way. If you are going to search it, from the date of publication was 2011, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there was, maybe it was reissued, I'm not sure, but yeah. At least I'm owning the one from 2011. Okay. Twahus has shared the link to Amazon DE. I think there is also a better way to buy it from qualitychess.co.uk directly. So it's probably cheaper, probably not. I don't know. On you guys. So next one is Zurian77. Accept. White pieces, e4. Twaco is sharing all the information. ISBN number, the quantity of pages. So all the information is here, guys. Use it. By the way, it will may be one of the best books I've read during the last 5 years or something. Very nice one. Okay, what do we have here? Najdorf with bishop e2 and bishop e3, and I'm trying this straightforward approach. There was a threat of bishop b6, so e4 pawn was protected. Oh, just a4. Intent in a5. In boxing, queenside. Alright, b6 weakens c6 square. And a6 pawn as well. So there are different ways of playing this position, starting with a pure positional one like castling. There's also an idea of playing a5, b5, c4. I find it interesting, so let's try it in this game. So as far as I know, this book that I've recommended originally was named like How to Win Open Tournaments. So the initial idea of naming it was exactly like this. So it's mainly dedicated to open tournaments fighters. And I would recommend this book to guys rated at least 2200s of national or international rating. So it has nothing to do with teaching you chess. It's about practical aspects of real tournaments. So, castles, castles. And the most valuable this book could be for like FIDE masters, international masters, grandmasters, and so forth. So for semi-professionals and professionals. At least for constant tournament fighters. Okay, a6 looks something that I can easily pick if I want. First of all, I have to solve the problem of bishop g5. So let's start with the f3, so that after bishop g5, I will just put the bishop on f2, saving the bishop on the board. All right, this is solved. Now, attacking a6 looks natural plan. Also, get into e6, like knight c5. Knight c5, bishop c5 looks a bit dubious to me. Knight c5, dc5, d6 check and takes on e7 is also not very clear. But maybe I can start with queen d3, attacking pawn a6. And then after more or less forced knight to c7, I can try with bishop b6, or maybe knight c5 right away, get into e6. Let's see. Yeah, this version is interesting. Alright, f4 doesn't give black anything, I think. Except for weakening e4 square, it's a positional mistake. Now it will be very hard for black to come up with the counterplay. Light squares are very weak, so it's not how it is played. If you want to play f4, you should start with the e4, pawn sacrifice, and then f4. Maybe e4 was playable there, I'm not sure. Alright, now knight c5 looks great, but since black played this f4, I'm probably no longer forced to do something like that. Extraordinary move, knight c5, extraordinary measures. I don't really need them, I think. So something simple like knight e2, knight e4 should do the trick as well. So this square e4 is just a big hole in black's position. I can put the knight there, then play b4. At some point bring the rook to the b file. Maybe just break through with the b5. Alternatively, I can do a lot of different things. Okay, knight f6. Now I can try bishop b6. Let's see what black wanted to do against this. To go back with the knight to d7. No. Just queen d7. And now at some point I can win the pawn on a6. I think at any point of time, whenever I want. So I'm not sure I have to be in a hurry with this capture. So position looks like I have plenty of different moves here, including b4. So like protecting everything prior to capturing the material. Okay, knight b5 can save the pawn, but it doesn't make black's position better, I think. So now say rook to c1. What's next? Okay, just bishop b3, let's say, with the idea of putting the bishop on a4, pinning the knight. Another idea is just to bring the rook to c6. The light squares all around the board are so weak. I mean, I have plenty of different ideas here. So rook c6 looks very natural now. Bishop d8. Now the question is to exchange this bishop or not to exchange. I think it's very important bishop to exchange it. Let's go back to f2. Because this bishop controls dark squares, including d4. This is important. g6. All right, rook to c1 now. So it's easily noticeable that after f4, black simply has no counterplay. That's why black is struggling here. Let's put the knight on e4 now. Attacking d6. Oh, this is nice. So now my bishop is really active and really strong. Like queen d5 should be decisive, right? Creating sort of queen g8 and c7 and so on. Lots of different ideas behind this move. But maybe queen g8 is not a serious threat. You know, queen d5 is the move I would play almost automatically, but now I'm not sure. Maybe bishop a4 is better than that. And just taking on b5, taking on d6. Yeah, it looks a bit more promising, because now I have 3 connected passers. There is still no counterplay. It's not serious, of course, this g5. Okay. So let's take this knight simply. Now queen b7 should be decisive. Almost decisive. No, it's just decisive. Bishop b6 now. b5, right? Just go there. I can probably even take on c7 and try b6, right? This should be winning. Okay, queen c7 is completely hopeless. I thought rook c7 was the last chance. Now I'm just promoted my pawns. Let's have a look at that. I wanted actually to take on to play b6 after rook c7. So like playing this. Is it possible? I mean, I have a threat of rook c8 now. Queen is pinned to the back rank, right? So there should be no defense. I don't see the way for black to activate the queen quickly. Like d5, right? Just rook c8. It's over. There is no chance to come up with a perpetual. And if queen goes to b8, I mean, I just start with this. a6. Or maybe rook c7 as well, just complete domination. Look at this. And then a6, a7, and so forth. Would be nice to try something like that, of course. But alright. In any case, position became strategically lost after f4, I guess. So everything before that was more or less playable for black. But f4 was a serious mistake. So e4 was interesting here. I mean, it's double-edged for sure, but at least in case I take, I think it's justified after knight e5. And then you take my bishop, at very least your dark squared bishop becomes active, and you definitely have some counterplay, like queen e2. Let's say bishop g5. Intending to take on e3 and to take on c4. Or to play f4 even, next move. So if I take, we take, again, f4, f3 is a nasty threat, so black has some play here, I guess. But maybe it's not that dangerous. Yeah, but the problem usually with the e4 is that it weakens d4 square, so that my knight gets free way to c6 or e6. So I think for white, it's better just to retreat with the queen easily, and everything's fine here. So something like f4 is interesting, but then I can even play like this. So even this is acceptable for white, I think. So just bishop to c3, then knight e4, knight e6 gradually. And this pawn is still hanging on a6. There is a big problem with protecting it. So, but there was at least something connected with the counterplay. That's what I mean. Maybe queen t3 was too much. Maybe it was better for me to play, in fact, queen to e2 with a similar idea, but avoiding these complications based on e4. Yeah, there was probably inaccurate to play queen to d3 here. And you had a chance to do that. But after f4, oh my god, it's over. I mean, white is so much better now because you don't have counterplay. There is simply no chance to play e4 anymore. Which means once I occupy e4 with the knight, it's pretty much one-sided. Alright, let's continue. The Sundance Kid, except e4. Sicilian again. So which line? Okay, different story. Different story. Let's try c4. Again, absolutely without theory. Just plain having some general knowledge in mind, not more than that. Let's try something ugly looking. Just taking on c6. And then playing f4. Next move. Which I believe is not a good idea for white here, but it's Blitz after all. Sometimes it's a good idea to play something ugly looking, but which appears something time consuming for the opponent. Mean tactics like grabbing some time from the opponent. Queen g4, attacking g7. Just almost immediate reaction once bishop leaves f8 square. Trying to force some weakening of the king side. Alright, g6 is played. Now e5. Looks very natural. To prepare knight e4. Controlling that squares better than b4. Alright, so d5. That's an interesting question. To take on d6 or not to take. Taking on d6 is, I guess, great help. Because f6 becomes possible to occupy with the knight. So I think after e6 position is just bounced. So probably it's better for me to avoid taking that pawn, but without this capture, it will be very hard for me to, say, get to e4 square with the knight, which is not very pleasant. On the other hand, I have a slight advantage in space, which also matters a bit, I guess. Fuchs says, my main move against Sicilian is to c4, leads to the same position as here. Not necessarily. After c4 I can play knight c6 and next move will be e5 and it will be completely dry and white has nothing. Which is really important, white has no d4 possibility. So if black doesn't want to give you an opportunity to play d4 after second c4 in Sicilian, black has the chance to do that. You should just know it, so it's not automatically a transposition to Maróczy pawn structures. Okay, knight e7, intending to put the knight on f5, I think, at some point. Okay, let's keep on developing pieces. Bishop d2, probably intending castling long. Maybe just completing a development, I don't know. So after castling, what if I play knight a4 now? There was another idea behind bishop d2 to avoid bishop a5. Is it a valid idea for me to play knight a4? Bishop just goes to d4. I'm not sure I achieve anything after that. Okay, what about h4? This looks more interested since black castled. Alright. Yeah. And now at some point just g4. Maybe next move. Maybe after castling lawn. Maybe I will stay on e1. Who knows? Rook b2, is it really a threat to me? Is it really dangerous? Is it something I should care about? Knight a4 looks like an option now, but I don't want to actually go away from the center, because it feels like after g4 I will start the attack on the king side, and the knight is needed somewhere around. So maybe I can just, you know, b3 is also like a tempo I don't want to spend on, don't know, b3 to play or not to play b3. b3 looks absolutely good, absolutely normal. Yeah, let's play b3. I'm not sure I have to go all in after g4. I mean, position doesn't require such a play, so I mean, g4 on the previous move, just giving up b2. I wasn't sure that it was a good idea for white, because there were some ideas of taking on b2, then if knight a4, something like rook takes d2, king d2, bishop b4, nasty sacrifice of the exchange, making my dark squares weak. So, don't see a big reason in giving my opponent such a play. And Giovanni says, time, Andrey. That's true. Have some problems with the time on the clock. So pawn structure is completely imbalanced. So black has weaknesses on the queen side, I have weaknesses on the king side, but I think it's not the most important factor here. What is really important here is this threat of h5 completely opening the position on the king side. Now after this exchange on c4, d5 pawn is gone, so I have knight e4, knight f6 resource. That's why I didn't want to put the knight on a4. I understood that at some point there will be a chance for me to bring the knight to the attack. And it will be a very valuable asset there on the king side. Rook d4, don't see a threat, so let's play h5. Oh, queen e5 was a threat. My goodness, blundered it. Whew. I've blundered it. Yeah, this is annoying. But probably it's not the end of the story. So let's exchange queens this way. So queen is under double attack now. It is attacked just twice, so I think... Oh no, black decided to save queens on the board, which gives me additional chances, I believe. So let's just castle first. I thought there was something like queen e2, in fact. Now position is very complicated. I'm not sure who's playing for which result. Knight b4 is a threat. Now it's too complicated, I think. It makes sense for me to get rid of these queens anyway. So I'm still having like advantage in development, so that bishop is out of play. So this should give me some good chances. Now I have bishop g5, bishop f6 idea at some point. Maybe just right now. Also bishop e3 looks quite playable. e4 is under control. My knight controls it. And now I think just knight e4, followed by knight f6. All right. Yep. Yeah. Bishop takes d5 was much more accurate, of course, followed by bishop f6. Should be winning. But even here, I wanted to do something like that. I thought it would be very promising at least. King is forced to f8. Now coordination is completely broken. And now I can play rook to d1, creating sort of a checkmate on d8. I think only defense is king to e8. And in this case, I have some like knight to g5. Yeah, this is almost at Zugzwang, I guess. So if c5, then bishop b5 wins. So probably the only idea is to do something like bishop c5 and then bishop e3. But very soon, I have a feeling useful moves will be over. Maybe not. Maybe it's not that simple. So I always have some ideas like knight takes f7, king f7, rook d7, but it's not what I want to do. Maybe bishop e6 takes e6 and f7 at the right moment. Should be also an interesting idea. I have no idea. But of course, bishop takes d5. In this particular case, just bishop d5, play this move, and then bishop f6 wins for sure. So, Turelli says, instead of rook d4, was also interesting. Rook d2, king d2, bishop b4, stopping knight e4 with threat of knight d5. Let's have a look at that moment. So I have definitely misplayed position after rook d4. I completely missed idea of queen takes e5. Obviously, white has to prevent it somehow, and there was a chance to do that. So something like, I don't know, queen g5, let's say. Nice move. So my queen is still active, right? And I can play h5. Another idea was to play knight e2 right here, just to avoid losing time. So I attack the rook, but hell, queen e5 is also possible here. It's very nasty. I mean, pinning my knight now. If f takes e5, then rook takes g4, but bishop c3, but then bishop b4, so yeah, very strange position. All right, so probably it's a good idea just to go away with the queen somewhere to g5, let's say, and then h5, and so on. Including castling, or maybe not including castling, maybe just staying with the king on e1. Yeah. But to come up with the h5 and to avoid the simplification, because after queen e5, I think black is already doing, if not well, but very close to that. Probably taking on e5 was a better idea for me, just to take here immediately, because anyway, I came back to that plan, and to try something like h6 here. Yeah. Everything depends on my ability to bring the knight to e4 quickly. If there is such a possibility, then I'm probably doing very good. So I can imagine playing something like bishop e2 next move. Let's say if king h7 then. Just play bishop e2, attacking the rook. And I control a lot of squares along the force rank, which means it will be not so simple for black to prevent me from playing knight e4 at some point. Like, if rook d4, just bishop e3. If rook goes away from the force rank, then knight e4 starts looking just almost decisive, or at least very promising, right? Yeah, interesting. In the final position there, after bishop c5, there is rook d8 tactic. Yeah, I believe the final position is very interesting. It's very simple, but this position in the middle game, that is what was very interesting. So you said rook takes d2 was promising. I'm not so sure. So rook d2, king d2. Okay, bishop b4, creating sort of knight d5. Now black has some sort of compensation for it, but I don't think it is sufficient. So just play king c2, so what? Now I already have a sort of knight e4. So you have to prevent it. Oh no, knight e5 now actually attacks e3 square. That's the point, probably. Yeah, this is not very pleasant. I'm probably not so well prepared for all this. That's true. Knight e5 is a bit nasty. Alright, so maybe it makes sense to start with like rook h3 move here. But then knight e5 is still annoying. Alright, what if, after all, I just play a3, attacking the bishop straightforwardly? That is probably the best move for me. Just forcing black to take immediately after check and just king c3. I think I'm fine here. My king looks not very good, but black doesn't have enough resources to cause damage. So I think white is doing well here with the king and just continues with the attack there. Yeah, looks like a very good position for white. I would play it with pleasure. But you're right, it was interesting. Because if I start with king c2, just knight d5, and yeah, black has a counterplay. For real. Okay, takes here, takes here, takes here, rook d4, h5. Yeah, I believe there was a better option than h5, but after h5 and queen e5, it was much better for me to start with taking on e5. Maybe even bishop e2 right away here, not even playing h6, because the main task is to bring the knight to e4. Where the rook goes, first question is already very critical, because rook doesn't have a lot of moves here. Let's say if rook b4, then at very least something like knight to a4 would be very annoying. Attacking the knight and the rook, sorry, the bishop and the rook simultaneously. And probably the best black can do here is sacrifice the exchange, but since the king is very open and I have pair of bishops, it would be very annoying position for black. If rook d4, then bishop e3, we already discussed that. And the point is, sorry, if rook goes to g2, then I play knight e4. And then knight to f6, oh my god. That is what I missed. Yeah, f takes c5 was much better. I mean, I have tremendous compensation for missing pawn. Probably just checkmate an attack or something, because much better coordinated pieces can deliver it. This bishop on c8 is misplaced, knight on e7 is misplaced, bishop on c5 is the target, and dark squares are completely weak. Yes, taking on e5 immediately and then playing bishop e2, that was a way for me to get very strong position. This queen e2 was a mistake, so after queen e2 or queen f6, black got decent play, I think. It was no longer that clear to me. So it is something very similar, but with amazing quantity of lost tempi. So most likely something like knight c3 was possible here. So bishop is deflected from bishop g5 f6 route. Now takes here, and quickly completing a development like bishop b7. So black is still a pawn up. I think it doesn't matter here after h takes g6. So at least I regain the material. White is still much better here, but as you can see, the material is reduced, so maybe black will have some chances to survive it. I don't know, after, say, something like c5, intending this sort of counterplay at bishop e4. Bishop b4, just exchanging pieces one by one, and so forth. Alright, very interesting game. Many thanks for this experience. Tirelli is the next opponent. Let's accept. And it will be probably the last game this time. And French defense. French defense. All right, a6, b5. I don't remember the name of this opening line, by the way, a6, b5. I have a strange feeling that it is called something like Ukrainian attack, or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But my memory says that something connected with the with Ukraine. So there is Ukrainian system. If, for example, you play d4, d6, c4, and e5, or knight d7 followed by e5, it is traditionally called Ukrainian system. As for this a6, b5, I'm not sure, but it's probably something also connected to Ukraine. Maybe it's just a wrong memory of mine. The memory that betrays me somehow. Probably Zweihaus can answer this question. He is our librarian. Bishop b5, bishop takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4. And then I have some like bishop a4, very strange position. Well, let's try it. I mean, it's interesting. At very least, I have bishop d7 check there. So I'm not losing a piece. I also have an interesting idea of just putting the bishop on a4 at some point. So knight d4. No, bishop d4 I was talking about. Or not. Or knight d4. Yeah, if knight takes d4, I have no such an idea, so I'm more or less forced to take on d7 at the end of the line. Yep. PT Schmitty. Okay, cd4 maybe. Queen b5, dc5. This is at least a tricky position. But then knight takes c5. Okay, I have nothing there. Yeah, this bishop b5 was stupid. Maybe c3 was stupid in the first place. Okay, I'm gonna play position with opposite colored bishops. Middle game with opposite colored bishops. It's important to find a way to activate my dark square guy. Obviously, if black takes on d4 now. This will maybe a catastrophe. For white, of course. So now f5, that's what I wanted to play initially. Is it something or not? I have no idea, but I don't see any other plan. Risky stuff. e6. Whew. e6 is very risky for both sides. I mean, to know who benefits from it. Okay, let's try to get some other play as well. In case this one doesn't work, we should have some positional targets as well, I think. It looks very strange now. Okay. So now the queen side is closed. My only chance is to attack on the king side, right? How to start this attack correctly? First of all, regrouping heavy pieces, I think. Yeah, black is doing well. Black is doing well there. So now to take with the pawn or to take with the king. Both look equally bad for white, but I will take with the pawn. Maybe I will have some additional chances because of the H file. Yeah, now I have at least some sort of maneuver like rook h1, rook h4. Maybe it will be something. After h6, I have a target on h6, so I may consider just taking on h6 at some point, making king's position completely open. And then e6 and checkmate. Dreams, dreams, dreams. Oh, Prison Mike is here. Wow. Bishop e6. Alright, now rook h4. Intending different stuff, but mainly using the position of opponent's queen on the 4th rank for now. Dungy is also here. Thank you guys for attending. Although a bit late, but still. You're here, I'm happy. So what if I just take on h6 with the bishop? Okay. Black starts dropping material, which is very nice. Now I really have some chances, I think. f5, d4, just take with the bishop. So I managed to get some pawns, almost for nothing. Okay, let's come up with some prophylaxis. Okay, there is a shred of what, queen g2, right? Let's protect this square. And e6. Rook takes d4. Takes here, check. Check. There's a checkmate on g7, right? Yeah. Okay, very complicated game. I believe that black was okay right from the beginning, but then at some point underestimated my initiative, the possibility to build up this initiative. But it's always like that when you play opposite colored bishops. So position looks absolutely like nothing and complete draw and so forth. But once you underestimate something simple and give your opponent a chance to use dark squares or light squares depending on the color of opponent's bishop, actually. In this particular case, it was dark squares. Everything changes tremendously. Like, yeah, let's have a look where the things went really wrong. So, to start with here, I'm not sure that rook g3 was really needed, but it's probably not that bad. I would have chosen something like rook g4 for sure. So just waiting for h3, and if h3, then takes, and the same stuff, but I don't have a chance to activate the rook as easily as it happened in our game. Okay, so that was the first improvement, a slight improvement, but I think it was critical. All right, here I would have avoided playing h6. I would have played something like rook e8, trying to come up with the same maneuver, rook e6, rook g6 quickly, because it was very efficient. I think after rook e8, maybe black is even better. So just rook e6, rook g6, a4 is still under pressure. I don't see how I can actually organize the attack even. Not to say about anything else. So h6 is another inaccuracy. I mean, after this and this, I think I'm already having some real chances. So I have a sort of bishop e3, bishop h6. You can't really take on a4 anymore. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe this position is already very nasty for black to play. I don't see a clear way to prevent all this stuff. Maybe here just going away with the bishop. So f4 was probably the last serious mistake. After that, my position seriously improved. Yeah, I mean, it's still playable, but I'm talking about the possibility to play for a win with black pieces. So after f4, there are definitely no chances to play for a win. So probably the last chance was here to play bishop c8 or something. So protecting h6. If I take there, then takes. I don't think it's serious. So first of all, there is intermediate check. Second of all, there is f6 move. Maybe I have some initiative, especially in bleeds, especially in a time trouble. Maybe I'm doing well there. What if queen c5 and king f3, right? And I have this threat of queen g5. All right. So maybe it's already not so simple. So bishop e3, f4. Yeah, here it was already quite good for me. Yeah, this play was almost automatic. The only problem was to stop you from checkmating me, and I have enough resources to come up with my own attack. All right. So yeah, I think everything started somewhere here. So you started making not very convincing moves like rook g3, h6, creating targets in your camp. Rook g4, in my opinion, is the best reaction here. I have nothing specific here, and you can improve your position. All right. So as I said before, it was the last game. Thanks a lot for being with me. Sorry for some technical issues. I believe they were not that critical. Hopefully you learned something new from this session. It was full of interesting patterns, I believe. And again, I do hope that my comments a bit helped you to understand specific types of positions. All right. So wish you all the best. Wish you a great weekend and see you next week. Bye-bye.